Testing my mic. Oh, there's a little bit hot here, but what do you think? Should I go down here and test it out? Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Fabric for Christmas Eve. All right, I think it sounds pretty good. Thank you.
Dashing through the snow on a one-horse open sleigh. All the fields we go, laughing all the way. Ha ha ha! Bells on bobtail ring, making spirits bright. What fun it is to ride and sing in a sleighing song tonight! Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
Merry Christmas, everybody. It is good to see you all here. I'm just going to start it out kind of light and fun, sing some Christmas tunes, and encourage you to sing along.
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, just like the ones I used to know, where the treetops listen and children listen to hear sleigh bells in the snow. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, with every Christmas card I write. May your days be merry and bright, and may all your Christmases be white. All right, sing along with me this time. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, just like the ones I used to know, where the treetops listen and children listen to hear sleigh bells in the snow. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, with every Christmas card I write. May your days be merry and bright, and may all your Christmases be white.
Sleigh bells ring, are you listening? Hey, snow is glistening, beautiful sight. We're happy tonight, walking in a winter wonderland. Gone away is the bluebird, here to stay is the new bird. Sings a love song as we go along, walking in a winter wonderland. Wait, better we can build a snowman, pretend that he is Parson Brown. He'll say, are you married? We'll say, no, man. But you can do the job when you're in town.
It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas everywhere you go. Take a look at the fighting time, listening once again, with candy canes and silver lanes aglow. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas
Once again, Merry Christmas. My name is Chris over here. It's really good to see you all. And I want to just encourage you to just be here. I don't know how it feels being here. Maybe it's been a bit, or you've never been here before, and but just know that you're welcome, all of you, as the full everything you bring. Whether it's like, why do I have to go to church today, or why do I have to go to this kind of church today, or whatever? It's all welcome. Just know that you're loved, and take a couple deep breaths. Just like, I don't know about you, but there's all kinds of complexity, all kinds of realities that you might be dealing with, feelings you might be feeling, and so just let your heart be here, and just stop for just a minute. All right, well, again, Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Chris and band, for that moment of centering in the music. My heart truly feels so light being present with all of you today to celebrate the spirit of Christmas. If you are a regular or a first time here, let's take a moment to see the lights, hear the music, smell the trees, and feel at home. Also, spoiler alert, at the end of the gathering today, you'll get a chance to taste some of the delicious cookies that we have for you. So consider this your welcome invitation to a full sensory experience today. My name is Jen Metz, and I recently took on the Nest coordinator role with Fabric, working with our youngest members. And though the Nest isn't open today, we do have an interactive Play-Doh activity for all of the kids and Kids at Heart. So if you didn't get one of those, find Heidi, Maya, or myself, and we'll make sure to snag one for you. One of my favorite things about Fabric, especially being a mom of a wiggly preschooler, is that I have always felt welcomed and encouraged to take care of needs as they arise. One of mine being taking advantage of all the free coffee. So if you need more coffee, tea, water, they're available right over there. Feel free to get up anytime throughout the gathering. And if you need to wiggle, or any little person around you needs to get some wiggles out, you can make your way down the hall. Sorry, my ears keep clicking against this. But to the bathrooms. Straight down the hall, there are also signs leading down to a gender-neutral bathroom in the teacher's lounge. If any older kids or adults didn't get a Sunday paper, raise your hand and we'll get one of those to you. I always just find those help me stay engaged and get the most out of the gatherings. There is also a communication card folded inside there where you can share your feedback, thoughts, prayer requests, or contact information if you want to stay connected with Fabric. On that note, there is an announcement in regard to the first ever chili cook-off that we will be having on Saturday, December 31st. All of the donations for that will go to local nonprofits chosen by the winning chili cookers themselves. And I think we will have we'll have options for most dietary needs, including vegetarian and vegan for that. Also, on January 8th, we'll be starting a new series called Care IQ. So we hope to see you for that, where we will dig into how to show up as our best selves in our relationships with ourselves, our parents, our kids, our friends, and our world. Now get up and find somebody that you didn't come with today, and if you're feeling brave, sing or say a line of one of your favorite Christmas songs, or share a sweet tradition that you celebrate with your family.
All right. Well, let's. If you're not standing yet, I would encourage you to stand up, and we're going to sing Joy to the World here together. Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare him room. And heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing. And heaven and nature sing. Joy to the earth, the Savior reigns. Let all their songs implore, while fields and floods, rocks, hills and plains, repeat the sounding joy, repeat the sounding joy, repeat the sounding. He rules the world with truth and grace, and makes the nations prove the glories of his righteousness, and wonders of his love, and wonders of his love, and wonders of his love.
Have a seat. Thank you, and Merry Christmas to all of you. I am Greg Meyer, and welcome, and thank you for being Fabric with us today. Wow, what a day. Any sugar in anyone yet? Yeah. It is. It's a wonderful day. It's also kind of, like Chris said, kind of a complicated day. And we all kind of know that. If only everyone around the world could celebrate Christmas with the same kind of joy and gusto that I think the day is meant to be able to give people, that would be a wonderful thing. And I really do believe that that's a dream that's worth not giving up on. And I would hope that the story of Christmas, the story of Jesus' birth, would be one of the things that inspires us to maybe keep reaching for that dream. So I do want to invite you. There's these offering baskets here that are underneath your seat someplace. I know we usually do this later in the gathering, but Christmas Eve is different, so things are different. But to pass those down, and people can put your communication cards or your offering in there. If you're not ready to do it, it doesn't have to go quickly, or you can do that later and find a basket to stick it in later, or give it to me, or leave it on your seat. We'll figure it out, okay? But you don't need to bring them down either. Just leave them up there where the rows are, okay? So that's that. So back to Christmas. Christmas is complicated. And not only because of sort of the inequities that we have in our world, but also because, like, what do you do with it? I mean, it's just, face it, the Christmas story is kind of a far-fetched tale, isn't it? I know a lot of people, and probably a lot of them in this room, who are ready to give up on the whole thing because they just can't buy it all. Well, here's the deal. Take this from a lifelong pastor, all right? The story of Christmas isn't in here in the Bible so that you will believe it. The story of Christmas is in the Bible so that you will follow it, okay? Christmas is not a history lesson in something that happened 2,000 years ago. No, it's a story that's, because stories didn't function that way back then. And history wasn't understood that way. That's something that we've done in our modern setting today. No, it's there to ask us a question. It's there, the story of Jesus and being born in Bethlehem is there to teach us something. And the point isn't, did it happen or not? The point is, what are you going to do with it? If life and light and love were born long ago in Jesus, the question is, how are life and light and love born in you today? And that's true in all the elements of the Christmas story. Take Joseph, for example. Everybody knows Joseph, right? Jesus' dad. Okay, so, but what do you actually know about Joseph? The truth is we don't know much at all. The Gospels in the Bible, those are the books in the Bible that talk about the story of Jesus' life, and there are 4 of them. Only 2 of the 4 even ever mention him, and only one, the book of Matthew, gives him any speaking lines whatsoever. And the funny thing is the 2 that do mention him don't agree on what his last name was. So, but nonetheless, as little as we know about him, what we do know is kind of interesting. And you got to ask the question, like, so why is he in the story? Because there's always a reason why someone or something happens in the story, right? And in my perspective, I think it's something like this. I think Joseph is getting stuck in a quandary. He's caught in a conundrum. He's struggling between this dilemma of what to do with what's in his heart and what's in his head. And that may be a kind of familiar situation for you, too. I know it is for me. Kids, all you kids there, did you get Play-Doh? Yeah? All right, you get Play-Doh. Did you get one of these booklets? All right, if you didn't, I think we got some people, Heidi there, maybe Jen have some, or you can run on over there and get one. It's not just kids. Like, if you want to play Play-Doh, go get some Play-Doh, okay? And if you turn to the 3rd page, you're going to find this picture. It's up there on the screen, too, okay? And on there, what you find is there's a question there, and it's asking you to use your Play-Doh here to describe what you treasure most. Like, what's most important to you? What do you value more than anything else? Can you use your Play-Doh to picture that? You see, Joseph in the Christmas story is asked, what's most important to him? What does he treasure the most? And he's also asked, like, what is he willing to risk some other, very important things to him in order to have that which is the most important to him? Now, the rest of you can do the same thing. If you look at the back of your Sunday paper, you're going to find you got a place to do some drawing or some writing with a pen if you want to as well. So something for us all to be thinking about a little bit. So let's remember this complicated story that Joseph gets caught in, this conundrum of his, which is key to the Christmas story, the story of Jesus' birth. That's. Notice how she looks at you? Have you noticed? Go for it.
She likes you. I know it. She talks about you all the time.
Have you noticed how she looks at you? Have you noticed the way Joseph looks at her?
Okay, I'll ask her out.
So after all these years, I hear you popped the question. What'd she say?
She said yes.
Well, it looks like you're going to be a great man. You're on your way, Joseph.
I tell you, it's true. My sister is one of her best friends. Mary is pregnant. So, did you?
No, it wasn't me. I had nothing to do with it, but.
But you can't marry her now.
Yeah.
You have a business, a reputation. You have to look after your future.
Yes, but no, I don't know. I know Mary, and this isn't like her. I don't know what's really happening. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Joseph's story in short. You can just consider that a pregnant pause. All right. Dun-dum-dum, dun-dum-dum. Okay. So what is Joseph supposed to do? What would you do? Well, according to the story in here, Joseph chooses compassion over caution. He chooses generosity over self-interest. He chooses hope over worry. Now, did that story really happen that way? Again, let me reiterate. It isn't about whether it really happened or not. It's about what are you going to do with that story? What do you learn from it? Kids, what are you making with your Play-Doh? What is that thing that you treasure most of anything else? And then a question for you as you work with that, and moms, dads, brothers, sisters, you can help the kids with this later too. How would you feel if all of a sudden you found out you were going to lose what you pictured there? Thinking about those feelings and learning to face those feelings can be really important when we are called to be generous, when we're called to share, when we're called to make that loving choice. The rest of you, it's not just a kid's question. What are you imagining? What is your greatest treasure? And how would you feel when those things are at risk? You see, life and light and love want to be born in you and into this world through you, and for me too. And sometimes they ask us to choose between what seems perfectly reasonable and where your heart is leading you. And those kinds of choices don't just come once in a lifetime, they come every day. The eyes of generosity, they see a different world, and they work from a different economy. And life is good when we learn to see with those eyes. I remember when I was a young boy, about 10 years old, I heard the story of a boy. He was an only child, and he had often talked about wishing he had a brother. And he heard a news story, okay? He heard a news story of another little boy whose brother had been in an accident and was going to be in the hospital over Christmas. Nothing too serious, but he really felt badly for his brother, and he wanted to do something for him. So he took all the money he had stashed away, all the money he had saved over the last couple of years, and he bought the bike that he knew his little brother wanted more than anything else in the world. And when the boy heard that story, he immediately said, "I sure wish I," and at that, young Greg, little me, thought, I know what he's going to say. He's going to say, "I sure wish I had a brother like that." I mean, who wouldn't want a brother like that who doesn't eat things for you, right? It's not what he said. He said, "I sure wish I was a brother like that." Sometimes life and light and love get born in us by helping us worry less about ourselves and more about the world around us. The generous choice is worth it. And maybe, just maybe, Joseph's story is in there to ask us to make the generous choice part of our stories.
There were kings of the Orient, bringing gifts to the child.
Well, if Joseph's story was kind of a strange one, the sages, the magi, the wise men, the kings, whatever you want to call them, I mean, their story is truly unlikely and mysterious. Among those Gospels that I mentioned, those books in the Bible that tell the story of Jesus' life, there's only one that ever bothers to mention them, which is really kind of strange when you think about the fact that these important foreign dignitaries traveled from a distant part of the world in order to visit this peasant baby and left all these valuable gifts. You would think it'd get a little bit more press, right? But then remember, this isn't about history. This is about your story and about the story that they want us to ask ourselves. So kids, and the rest of you, you can look at the next page. It's got, whoops, I turned two. It's got a bunch of faces on it, okay? So on those faces, you can use your Play-Doh, and you could, draw this. So see these visitors that are coming to see Jesus, these wise men, the sages, whatever you want to call them, they're going to find that things don't go the way they expected. So what happens when things don't go the way you expected? When you have to you have to try something for the very first time, something you've never done before, or you try to do something and it doesn't work and you got to find another way to do it. How does that make you feel? On those faces, you can make some expressions that show how you feel about that. So see what you can do with that. So here's what's going on in this story, all right? These sages, they are like the wise counsels to some foreign ruler, some foreign king, somewhere to the east of Israel. All right, and their job is to read the stars and to study ancient documents and things like that, ancient wisdom, in order to advise their king. Well, they're doing their job, and all of a sudden they see this celestial anomaly, this new star that shows up, and that's something, so they go look in their books, and they find out that portends the birth of a brand new king. So, hey, that's important stuff. So they go tell their king, and of course I'm reading between the lines here. But there's got to be more to this story because it's such a big story. There's so little told about it. But so they go to their king, who commissions them to go find this newborn king in this distant land, right? I mean, why? I suppose to establish some sort of ties with this new ruler, to ingratiate themselves with the family, so that there can be alliances and trade in the future. Who knows what it is? But anyway, now well-financed by the king, off they go to find this newborn king in presumably the capital of this country to the west, which would be Jerusalem in Israel, because if a new king's being born, right, it's got to be in the capital city. So off they go. You can read this yourself. It's the first 12 verses in Matthew. Some of the details I shared aren't in there, but like I said, you got to read between the lines. So off they go to Jerusalem. And so far, so good, but this is where everything starts unraveling for them. Because they go to the palace, and Herod, the king there, meets them, and he doesn't know anything about a king being born. He doesn't know anything about a star, and that seems a little bit strange. So Herod, the king, he summons his sages who study their ancient documents, which would be our Old Testament, and they find that there was a prophet Micah who said if a new king is going to be born, it's going to be in Bethlehem. Okay, so off they go to Bethlehem. And that is when all of a sudden their scripted story all of a sudden starts not turning out the way they want it to be. And they start having some debates among themselves about what's really going on. And we'll just say that there are three of them, right? Because that's what tradition always has.
I didn't see this coming either. But look, the star is still there. Shall we check it out?
You're right.
star is still there, isn't it?
Yes, all the better to learn our way out of town.
Or to remind us that we're right where we're supposed to be.
Oh, I can't believe I'm doing this. Okay, let's get out.
First, thanks to Chris Tripolino for all the animation work, and to Mimi and Dustin Black and to Danny McMillan and Terry Esau for their narration. But we are so used to hearing "We Three Kings of Orientara" that we think, well, that happened, of course. But there's really no of course to it. It's really incredibly bizarre and unlikely, and it really makes us ask a question like, what's really going on here? It's really trying to drive us beyond the history of that to our story, how we own that. Sometimes in my story, and my bet is that it's pretty true in your story too, that when I follow the things in life that really matter, the stuff of life and light and love, I find that it leads me places I never expected. It takes me, takes a script and places and into directions that were very unexpected. And I have trouble explaining to other people why I'm doing what I'm doing and why I'm going where I'm going. Now, when that happens, then I have to ask myself, is wandering off the map for something I can't truly understand and can't fully explain, is it worth it or not? And I have never found a calculation that will simply answer that question for me, but I have found that the real stuff of life, the important stuff of life, has a tendency to lie off the map. So kids, thanks for working on your Play-Doh. What kind of expressions did you put on your faces? You can share that with your family, and maybe this afternoon ask the other people in your family and your friends, like, how do they feel about this? What is it like for them when they have to wander off the map, when they have to deal with the unexpected that way? Being able to talk about our feelings can help us be brave, even when we're worried, even when we're unsure, and even when we're afraid. And the Christmas story can help us be those people.
The night went to the little lamb. Do you see what I see? Way up in the sky, little lamb. Do you see what I see? A star, dancing in the night with a tail as big as a kite. With a tail as big as a kite. Said the little lamb to the shepherd boy, do you hear what I hear? Ringing through the sky, shepherd boy. Do you hear what I hear? A song, high above the trees, with a voice as big as the sea. With a voice as big as the sea. Sing this, sing the shepherd boy. Said the shepherd boy to the mighty king, do you know what I know? In your palace warm, mighty king, do you know what I know? A child shivers in the cold. Let us bring him silver and gold. Let us bring him silver and gold. the King to the people everywhere. Listen to what I say. Pray for peace, people everywhere. Listen to what I say. The child, sleeping in the night, he will bring us goodness and light. He will bring us goodness and light. He will bring us goodness and light.
Hey everyone, I'm Melissa Locke, and I do bring some Merry Christmas wishes from the live streamers to all of you here, and Merry Christmas live streamers. So I have a wondering, if there was world-changing news of goodness and light like the song was talking about, who do you think would be the first ones to hear about it and tell about it? I wonder about that. In the telling of the Christmas story that Luke gives us, the ones who were first is pretty surprising. It was some sheep herders working just outside of town, watching their sheep. So they never would have imagined that they would be the ones to get news that would be really important at all, that would be worth sharing with anybody. But they were. They were. So, kids, I think there is a star. I want you to find that in your Play-Doh book. And can I actually see you hold those up? There's a star on page 5. And as you find that, and if you don't have a book, I want you to even whisper to the person sitting next to you, what is something you are proud of about you? Something about you that says, yeah, I have just what it takes. Everybody think about that. And kids, that is the thing you can sculpt and put in your star and talk about with your grown-ups. So how do you have just what it takes? How are you worth being the one that's in on something big? Being the one to witness goodness and light to everybody everywhere? It's a good question for all of us to wonder about this morning as we hear these stories of the shepherds. We were just doing our jobs. I mean, out in the fields like every other night with the sheep, and then out of nowhere, there was just this angel-type figure. I don't know what else to call it. And then there was this indescribable light that came along, blazing in the sky. I don't know what to say and what to tell you, but we were terrified, okay? Terrified. No one could say a word. And I don't know how much time passed, but I remember we all heard it. This angel was talking to us, telling us, I bring you good news. It's of great joy for everyone everywhere. There's a Savior that's just been born in the town of David, right here in our town. Incredible. And that we would find the baby wrapped in cloths, lying in a manger of all places. So, a manger. Well then, this huge choir, I don't know, of more angels filled up the sky with music and light singing. Then it was gone. We all just stood there and looked at each other. And then, all at the same time, I think we just all said, let's go. Something big is going on. We need to see this. So we went. We actually walked and ran as fast as we could to get there. And guess what? We found them. It was Mary and Joseph for their names, these parents. And they were from Nazareth, of all places. And that baby, that tiny baby wrapped up, lying in a feeding trough. It was just like they had told us, but nothing like we ever would have expected. I mean, we thought we'd have to climb on each other's shoulders and peek in and maybe we'd get a glimpse, but no, we were the only ones. We were the first ones to know. There was so much joy and hope and love. It was a miracle. It is a miracle. So what miracles have you seen? Is this what the shepherds invite us to wonder? Where are you a witness of what changes everything? Are you too a bearer of love and life and light? You might think that what you see, what you love, what you know is no big deal, that it's the small stuff, not the big stuff. You might think that no one but you would really care. But no. What you love, what you see, what you're proud of, that is the real thing. We need to hear about it.
She stood looking out the doorway, poised to step out into whatever comes next. Although I know I could not go with her, I could keep her company while waiting, bear witness to the preparing, maybe rub her tired shoulders, which I know is absolutely nothing and absolutely everything. Maybe that's why we're here, to rub shoulders and play cards, to be a place to launch and a place to land, to murmur on the phone late at night and to say, "This I love." And this I saw.
This I love, and this I saw. What do you love? What do you see? You might see some hard things. You might see some too big problems. Yeah, hurt, sadness, grief, overwhelm, those are real. But so too are tenderness and companionship, and incredible beauty and light and life and love. You see it, you know it, you are in on it, and it needs to be shared. You are seeing God breaking into the world like the shepherds, and people need to know. So, kids, with that Play-Doh, I mean, you know the shepherds, they didn't realize how much they had in them at first, I might think. They forgot that they had much of anything to really be proud of or to share with the world. But then they got reminded, and we get reminded, and you remind us that we do have things to be proud of. So as you think and talk later, what is it that you're proud of? Maybe it's being a caring friend. Maybe it's being a caring sibling, or practicing really hard those lines for that show or that instrument or that soccer move for your team. Maybe it's ways you are a helper at Christmas time. Maybe it's all those times you really say thank you and mean it. Maybe it's ways that you have been brave or generous. Whatever it is, I want each one of you to know that who you are, what you see, What you love matters even more than you think. Even more than you think. The shepherds, they didn't see themselves as important enough to be in on anything world-changing. But guess what? They were, and you are. As much as you might wonder, am I worth being the one to hear good news and to share it? You are. The life, the light, the love of Christmas are for everyone, and we are all in on it. Even me, even all of you. So claim it and run with it. Go tell it.
Oh, holy night, the stars are brightly shining. It is the night of the dear Savior's birth. Long lay the world in sin and error pining, till he appeared and the soul felt its worth. A thrill of hope, the weary world rejoices, for yonder breaks a new and glorious morn. Fall on your knees, oh, hear the angel voices, oh, night divine, oh, night when Christ was born. Oh, night, oh, holy night, oh, night divine. Let's sing this together. Truly he taught us to love one another. His law is love, and his gospel is peace. Chains shall he break, for the slave is our brother, and in his name all oppression shall cease. Sweet hymns of joy in grateful chorus raise we, let all within us praise his holy name. Christ is the Lord. Oh, praise his name forever. His power and glory
beautiful. Okay, so finally we come to Mary. Of course, Mary. Someone had to give birth to this baby, right? But imagine how complicated that was, how involved her story was. There would be so much to tell about it, but really, as the story goes, there's not a lot said about the details for Mary and what all this involved. I can only imagine that what is told is in there for a real good reason. And like we've been saying this afternoon, it is for us. It is for us to understand our own stories. So Joseph and the sages and the shepherds who we've met, they all had a lot at stake, right? But Mary, it was her very body, her very life at stake. It wasn't some people in a faraway place or a distant land or maybe even someone else that she loved. It was happening to her. If you have a Play-Doh mat, this is the last one. And there's a page at the end with a big world on it. This big world that we all get to live on. Mary was asked to do a very big thing. And that was for the world. And to her, it seemed impossible. But she caught this glimpse of a big love that God had for her and this big vision that God had for all of us and for the world. And that gave her hope. So I wonder, what is something big that you want for the world? What is a big hope that you have for the world? And think big here. It might seem impossible, but I want you to use your Play-Doh to show it anyway. And everyone else, think about those big things. You might think about homes. You might sculpt a house or water or a school or friends. There are so many big things that the world needs that would make the world a better place for so many people. So for Mary, this big thing, it felt too big. It felt impossible. When she first got the news of what was going on, you can really understand why this angel messenger that brought this news had these first words come out of their mouth for Mary.
My soul magnifies the Lord, and my spirit rejoices in God, my Savior, who has looked with favor on the lowliness of us, servants. Surely from now on, all generations will call me blessed.
Wow. They told her she was going to have a baby. She said, "What? That's impossible." Impossible. But no, nothing is impossible with God.
Don't be afraid, Mary. God loves and is with you. You will have a child. His name will be Jesus. He will be known as the Son of the Most High. He will be God's chosen one to lead all people forever.
What? That's impossible.
It is possible. God's Spirit is with you. The child within you is the gift of God. Nothing is impossible with God.
Say it again. Nothing is impossible with God. Mary's world really was turned upside down all at once, and in her circumstances, the news of having a baby was definitely not good. And then it wasn't just any baby, it was the Son of the Most High. I mean, what was she getting into? I can only imagine the calculations that must have been going on in her mind. Okay, so this isn't my choice at all. I have no idea what's going on, but if I embrace this impossible thing, will it really be worth it? Really? Well, it got even more complicated and surreal for Mary. trying to figure out what was going on, Mary goes to her much older cousin, Elizabeth, who she heard is also very surprisingly pregnant. No sooner does Mary get to the door of her cousin's house when Elizabeth is running toward her, practically yelling at her.
Mary, you're here. Sit down. Sit down. You know what you carry? What you'll labor for? This that you bear will change everything. When you came in the door, my baby leapt inside me like I've never felt before. Mary, you must trust the wonder of this gift of God that you carry.
So, how was Mary to know that what she was going through would be worth it or not? That all this labor and work and grief she would go through would turn out? One thing that helped to know was she wasn't alone. I mean, Elizabeth was with her. Elizabeth seemed to have no doubt, and that helped. She also remembered these words that were 1,000 years old that she'd been hearing since she was young herself. They were repeated over and over, promises she'd been hearing since childhood.
My soul magnifies the Lord, and my spirit rejoices in God, my Savior, who has looked with favor on the lowliness of us, servants. Surely from now on, all generations will call me blessed.
So even more doubt and fear must have come for Mary when she actually had to give birth far away from home, far away from all the people that could help her out. And it wasn't even in someone's home, but it was in a cattle stall with only Joseph to help her out. And then there's shepherds that we talked about showed up, both terrifying her and inspiring her, all at the same time. And Mary really didn't even know the worst of what was to come in the days ahead, in the months and years ahead. She didn't know about the violence and the grief that would be part of this child's story and therefore her story. But then I guess she also didn't know the best of it. She had a baby, and she had a lot of questions. Who is this baby? Why me? How will this all turn out? Will my labors of love be worth it? The answers to those questions for Mary would only be found in the future as she took one step at a time forward. So twice the story tells us Mary treasured all these things in her heart, and she bore the child and raised it and gave it to the world. So kids, what is the thing that you wish could be given to the world? I'll show you what I made and see if anyone can figure out what it is. Can you see? Can you tell what it is? What do you think? What does it look like? It is. It's a Band-Aid. A Band-Aid. So, I hope you'll tell about those big things that you wish for the world. Talk about them as you eat today, as you celebrate. Because I'm not Mary, you're not Mary. But just like Mary, you and I have been chosen. Just like the angels told Mary, God loves and is with you. Don't be afraid. The life and light and hope you carry inside of you needs to be born. And nothing is impossible. Will your labors of love be worth it? I don't know. That story is yet to be told. But you have Mary's story to help you remember, and you have us to help you trust to give you hope, to give you company along the way. So trust that big love, trust that big vision. As we are woven with God and with ourselves and with each other, nothing is impossible.
I invite you to stand up if you are, if you don't have your hands covered in Play-Doh or things like that. We'll sing Silent Night together. Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright, round yon virgin mother and child. Holy infant, so tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace. Sleep in heavenly silent night, holy night, shepherds quake at the sight, glory stream from heaven above. Heavenly hosts sing hallelujah. Christ the Savior is born. Christ the Savior is born. Son of God, love's pure light, radiant beams from thy holy face, with the dawn of redeeming grace. Jesus, Lord, at thy birth. Jesus, Lord, at
I invite you to hum that last verse one more time. And hold all the things that are going on in your life, all the busy day that you have ahead. Don't need to separate them from this or from any other things that really matter. It's all part of the same thing. It's all part of our lives. Thank you. So, Christmas is a wonderful holiday. It's full of wonderful traditions and things that we all do, and it's a wonderful story, but I think we also know it's not only about something that happened 2,000 years ago, and it's not going to be found under the Christmas tree. It's about our stories and how we live that out now. So let's continue to weave that together and make our stories count and help this world be a whole and happy and wonderful place. So thank you. And I do want to remind you, next Saturday, 11:30 in the morning, that's Christmas Eve morning, our chili cook-off. I think we got 7 people representing different nonprofits, local nonprofits that are really making a difference in the world. And so come and vote, and let's see what can happen with that. And those offering baskets are there. We'll find them and pick them up afterwards. But Merry Christmas, and we will see you next week. Yes, and there are cookies. Yes.